Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. Thanks again for joining. Today's the fourth in a series of videos that I'm doing on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the best books that I've read long ago and continue to reference to this day. Today we want to spend some time talking about habit number 4, which is think win-win. As I had discussed in the other videos, this is the framework for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. On the bottom, we have dependence, and we have 3 habits that are all under your own private control to manage. Habits 1, be proactive, begin with the end in mind is 2. Put first things first is habit 3, and then we move into independence. Now we're moving, once we get completed, then we have habits that we can control and influence other people. So today we're focusing on think win-win. Then we move on to seek first to understand, then be understood, synergize, and then 7 is sharpen the saw, which is ongoing and continual. So with that, let's get started. So there's 3 components that need to be considered when you're trying to grow your habits or develop your habits. And the first one is the knowledge, which is the what to and why to. And then along with that, another component is the skills, which is the how to. And then the third component is desire or want to. Where the circles interact or intersect is the habits, which is what we want to focus on today, is how we can grow our habit, in this case, habit number 4, which is win-win. I like this quote, and every one of the habits has a quote. So habit 4, think win-win. We have committed the golden rule to memory. Let us now commit it to life, by Edwin Markham. So I really like that quote. Again, we have the high-level framework here, and we're focusing today in the blue items, think win-win. Keeping back and remembering the first 3 habits are something that are under your control, while the habits 4, 5, and 6 you have indirect control of that, and it allows you to influence others, and then we move on from that. So with the think win-win, we have 6 paradigms that we want to keep in mind when we have the win-win, or 6 paradigms or scenarios, if you will. The first is win-win. So in the win-win, obviously, we have a mutual benefit for both agreements and solution. We've come up now between the parties a better way to do things going forward. So obviously, this is the focus that you want to bring in whenever you're engaging in a working relationship with another person or another department. You want to strive for win-win. Another scenario that can happen is a win-lose. This might be in an environment where you have authoritarian type environment where the leader or the manager or someone says it's my way or the highway. So the person that is making those decisions uses their power, position, and credentials to win. So obviously, this is probably not something that most people would be wanting to work in that type of environment. Another scenario or paradigm is lose-win. This is actually worse than win-lose, as the person that's losing really has no principles or standards, and they just want acceptance and move on from the situation or scenario. Another one is lose-lose, when neither side will bend or flex in or be willing to change. This again is not an ideal situation because you just stay status quo then. And then the fifth one is win. When all that matters is you win. You don't see the other person as a competitor. It's only about yourself. So obviously in this scenario, it's not a positive environment to work in either because everyone's thinking about only themselves. And then the 6th paradigm is win, obviously, or no deal. So the no deal actually just indicates that you have no solution. So again, that's not something that you want to strive for. So again, the 6 paradigms, you want to focus on win-win, which means that you have mutual benefit for both agreements and solutions, and you found a better way to move forward. There's 5 dimensions that are that contribute to the win-win um, uh, factor. The first one is win-win. So character is a big um, component of being able to set up a win-win scenario. So it takes courage and integrity and maturity to that they all factor into how you want to be perceived by the other person that you're working with. More than likely, you have an abundance of the mentality is for both people in the scenario that there's plenty of abundance of capability and there's plenty for everyone to share in, so let's figure out a win-win. So again, character is one of the factors of the win-win scenario. Another factor is the relationship. So in this case, it's important to you and the other party that you're working with that you want to maintain and keep the relationship. That's important. So that's a central factor in how you work with the other person or department to make sure that you maintain a positive and pleasant working relationship. The third factor is agreements. So you want to make sure that both of you agree to the work that's going to be completed or the situation. So you both agree on the desired results. You have some guidelines or framework that you work within to come up with these agreements. You have the resources that are needed, and you have the accountability as well as the consequences of those agreements. And then the fourth and fifth ones are the supportive systems and processes. So obviously in a win-win scenario, you're going to have a fair amount of supportive systems in place as well, so that you're able to work well with other people. And then the processes, you want to make sure that you're factoring in all the different pieces that are contributing to making your process successful in the win-win scenario. You want to make sure that both people are coming in and understanding the problem from the other person's point of view. You want to identify any key issues and concerns, agree on the results that you want to have for both parties, and then identify possible options to get to the win-win. So obviously in this scenario with the win-win, you're both working together to figure out the best solution going forward and the best situation that will help both people or both departments. And again, the situation is that you've come to agreement on a win-win proposition. We have the typical matrix in the 7 habits that they use a lot of matrices. And so we have the various scenarios. On the left-hand side, we have consideration. So low consideration. And then on the other side, we have courage, which has low courage to high courage. So in order to get to the win-win scenario, you need to have high courage and high consideration. So again, you're working with each other, you're being accountable to each other. If you have high consideration but low courage, you're going to probably fall into a lose-win scenario. If you have high courage and low consideration, you might fall into the win-lose situation. And then if you have low courage and low consideration, meaning you don't really care and you're not willing to compromise, then you probably have a low lose-lose scenario in front of you. So again, you want to make sure that you're striving to get to the win-win, where it takes some courage to think through and potentially have the flexibility to work with another person to make sure you're looking at getting results that are beneficial and agreements that are beneficial to both parties. Again, the successes to get to a win-win scenario, there are several of them. The first one is the win-win management training. You want to make sure that you understand that process that I mentioned before, where you're both looking at the situation from each other's perspective or point of view. You're taking into consideration how they're thinking and feeling and how they might be successful. So that's all part of your win-win management training to make sure that your support system is in place as well. That's all part of your organization. The win-win performance agreements, again, that's focusing on making sure that there's an ability to see from another person's point of view and that you both agree on the results of the scenario where you have a win-win situation. And again, you have your systems in place. You want to make sure that there's support in the environment for making sure that you're looking at things for the betterment of both people or both parties as you move forward. And then again, the processes where you make sure that you're following the various steps to make sure you get a win-win scenario where you look at each other's point of view, you look at how you can gain agreement, and look at possible options so that you can get to a win-win scenario. So that really sums up what I wanted to share with you today regarding the win-win scenario. And again, just a quick recap. The first three habits are under your control. The second three habits, habits 4, 5, and 6, are something that they're indirectly controlled by you, and you have the ability to influence others in this scenario. And then the out of the control or the no control is the items that are outside of your circle of influence. So again, you want to make sure that you're focusing on your circle of influence, which is one of the first habits that we covered as well. So, and again, the reference is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is the name of the book. So thank you again for your time today, and I hope you found this beneficial. And if so, I hope that you can consider subscribing as well as consider liking this video. Thank you and have a good day.